Emma Wilson pulled her coat tight against the cold night air as she walked quickly through the empty streets of Bramford. Her heart was beating fast, and tears rolled down her face. The street lights made long shadows on the ground, and every step felt heavy. Just 3 hours ago, she had been sitting in the town hall meeting, listening as people she had known for years called her a thief. The meeting had started like any other. Emma sat in the back row, wearing her best blue dress and holding a small folder of papers. She had worked as the church secretary for 5 years, and everyone trusted her. She knew every family in town, helped plan the church dinners, and always stayed late to make sure everything was perfect. But tonight was different. Tonight. Pastor William stood at the front of the room with a sad face. He held up some bank papers and spoke in a quiet voice that made everyone lean forward to listen. "We have a problem," he said. "Someone has been taking money from our church account, a lot of money." Emma felt her stomach drop. She was the one who had found the missing money 2 weeks ago. She had been doing her monthly check of the church books when she noticed that $5,000 was gone. The numbers did not match. Money that should have been there was not there. Emma had done exactly what she thought was right. She went straight to Pastor Williams and showed him the problem. She pointed out every mistake, every missing dollar, every strange payment that did not make sense. She thought she was helping to catch whoever was stealing from the church. Pastor Williams had thanked her and told her he would look into it, but he looked worried. And Emma noticed he would not look her in the eyes, now, sitting in the town hall. Emma understood why. Pastor Williams pointed to where she was sitting. Emma Wilson had access to all our money. He said she was the only one who could make these payments without anyone knowing. Emma stood up quickly, her chair making a loud noise. "That's not true," she said, but her voice came out small and shaky. "I was trying to help. I found the problem and told you about it." But Pastor Williams shook his head. "My son Michael was helping with the books too, but he's studying at college in the next town. He could not have done this, Emma. You were the only one here." Emma looked round the room at faces she had known since she was a child. Mrs. Peterson, who had taught her in Sunday school, Mr. Davis, who had given her rides to church when she was young, Lucy Harper, her best friend since they were 10 years old. But none of them looked at her with kindness. They all stared at her like she was a stranger, like she was someone who could not be trusted. "I did not take any money," Emma said louder. "Michael was here lots of times. He helped me with the computer system. He knew how to make payments too. Michael is a good boy," Pastor Williams said firmly. "He would never steal from God's house, Emma. We found your name on all the problem payments. The bank has your signature." Emma felt the room spin round her. She knew her signature was on lots of papers because that was her job. She signed checks and forms every week. But she had never taken any money that was not hers. "Please," she said, looking at Lucy. "You know me. You know I would never steal anything." But Lucy looked away and would not meet her eyes. The meeting ended with everyone voting that Emma should not work at the church anymore. They also said they might call the police if she did not pay back the missing money Emma ran from the town hall. But the terrible night was not over. When she got home to her small apartment, her landlord, Mr. Brown, was waiting for her. "I heard what happened," he said, not looking happy. "I cannot have a thief living in my building. You need to leave by tomorrow morning." Emma tried to explain, but Mr. Brown shook his head and walked away. The next morning, Emma packed her clothes into one small bag. She had saved $800 over the past year, and that was all the money she had left when she went to the grocery store to buy some food for her trip. The owner, Mrs. Chen, asked her to leave. "We do not want your business here," Mrs. Chen said. "Find somewhere else to shop." Even Lucy, her oldest and best friend, would not answer her phone calls. Now Emma walked through the dark streets with everything she owned in one small bag. She could see her old car parked under the big oak tree at the edge of town. The car was 15 years old and made strange noises, but it still worked most of the time. As Emma reached her car, she turned round to look at Bramford one last time. She could see the church tower and the main street where she had walked to work every day for 5 years. She could see the library where she had spent many happy afternoons reading books. She could see the park where she and Lucy used to play when they were children. This was the place where she was born, where she grew up, where she thought she would live forever. But now it felt like a place where she could never belong again. With shaking hands, Emma started the car engine. She did not know where she would go or what she would do. All she knew was that she had to leave the only home she had ever known. And she had to do it alone. 20 miles outside Bramford, Emma's old car started making strange noises that got louder and louder. At first, it sounded like a small cough. Then, like someone was shaking a box of rocks under the hood, Emma gripped the steering wheel tighter and pressed her foot on the gas pedal, hoping the car would keep going just a little bit longer. But then white steam started pouring out from under the hood like smoke from a chimney. The temperature gauge on her dashboard moved into the red zone, and Emma knew she was in trouble. The engine made one last loud bang and then stopped working completely. The car rolled slow and slow until it finally stopped on the side of the empty country road. Emma sat in the driver's seat for a moment, staring at the steam rising in front of her windshield. She turned the key again and again, but nothing happened. The car was completely dead, and she was stuck in the middle of nowhere with no houses or buildings anywhere in sight. She got out of the car and lifted the hood. Even though she knew nothing about fixing engines, steam poured out and made her step back quickly. Everything under the hood looked hot and broken, and Emma could smell something burning. Emma climbed up and sat on the hood of her car, which was still warm from the broken engine. She looked round at the dark empty road and the fields on both sides. There were no street lights here, just the moon and stars above her head. She could not see any houses or farms. And she had not passed another car for the last 10 miles. That was when Emma started to cry. Not just a few tears, but deep sobs that came from somewhere deep inside her chest. Everything that had happened in the last 24 hours came crashing down on her all at once. She had lost her job, her home, her friends, and her good name. Now she had also lost her only way to travel, and she was stuck in the middle of nowhere with $800 and nowhere to go. Emma cried so hard that she did not notice the man walking across the field toward her broken car. Tom Fletcher had been walking round his farm for almost an hour. He did this most nights because he could not sleep very well anymore. 2 years ago, his wife Sarah had died in a car accident, and since then, Tom found it hard to rest at night. The big farmhouse felt too quiet and empty, so he would put on his boots and walk round his land, checking on his sheep and cows and thinking about better days. Tom was walking back toward his house when he heard the sound of someone crying. At first, he thought it might be an injured animal, but then he saw the broken-down car on the road and realized it was a person who needed help. Tom was a careful man who did not like to scare people, especially women who were alone at night. So he walked slowly toward the car and called out in a gentle voice when he was still far away. "Are you all right, miss?" he asked, stopping about 10 feet away from Emma's car. Emma looked up quickly, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. She saw a tall man with grey hair and kind blue eyes. He was wearing work clothes and boots, and he looked like someone who worked with his hands. Even though Emma was scared to meet a stranger on a dark road, something about this man seemed safe and trustworthy. "My car broke down," she said quietly, her voice still shaky from crying. "I don't know what to do." Tom moved a little closer and looked at the steam still coming from under the hood of Emma's car. He had fixed enough farm equipment to know that this car was not going anywhere tonight. But Tom could also see that this young woman had bigger problems than just a broken car. Her eyes were red from crying. She had a small bag of belongings on the seat next to her, and she looked like someone who had been running away from something terrible. Tom remembered how he felt after his wife died, when everything in his life seemed broken and hopeless. He remembered how much it meant when his neighbors brought him food and offered to help with his farm work. "I have a small guest house on my farm," Tom said, pointing toward a group of buildings about half a mile away. "You're welcome to stay there tonight. We can look at your car in the morning when there is more light." Emma stared at him with surprise. After the way everyone in Bramford had treated her, she had forgotten that kind people still existed in the world. "I don't have much money," she said honestly, because she did not want this nice man to think she could pay him a lot for helping her. Tom smiled, and his whole face looked warmer. "That's okay," he said. "Sometimes we all need a little help. My name is Tom Fletcher, and I live just over there. What's your name?" "Emma Wilson," she said, climbing down from the hood of her car. "Well, Emma Wilson," Tom said, "let's get you somewhere warm and safe for the night. Tomorrow we can worry about everything else." Emma picked up her small bag and followed Tom across the field toward his farm, feeling grateful that there were still good people in the world. The next morning, Emma woke up to the sound of birds singing outside her window. For a moment, she forgot where she was and why she was there. Then she remembered the terrible night before, her broken car, and the kind farmer who had given her shelter. But instead of feeling sad, Emma felt something she had not felt in a very long time. She felt peaceful. Tom's guest house was small but perfect. It had one room with a comfortable bed, a tiny kitchen with a small table, and a bathroom with clean, white towels. Everything was simple but well taken care of. Through the window, Emma could see rolling green fields that went on for miles. White sheep moved slowly across the grass, and the morning sun made everything look golden and beautiful. Emma had slept better than she had in months in Bramford. She had been waking up every night worried about money and work and what people were saying about her. But here in this quiet place, she had slept for 8 hours without waking up once. There was a gentle knock on the door, and Emma heard Tom's voice. "Emma, I brought you some breakfast if you're awake." Emma opened the door and saw Tom holding a wooden tray with a cup of tea, some toast with butter and jam, and her eggs cooked exactly the way she liked them. "How did you sleep?" he asked with a kind smile. "Better than I have in weeks," Emma answered, and she meant every word. "Thank you so much for letting me stay here. I don't know what I would have done without your help." Tom set the tray down on the small table and sat across from Emma. "I'm glad you got some rest. You looked like you needed it." Emma ate her breakfast, slowly, enjoying every bite. The eggs were fresh from Tom's chickens, and the jam was made from berries that grew on his farm. Everything tasted better than any meal she had eaten in a long time. While they ate, Tom told Emma about his farm. He had 300 sheep, 50 cows, and lots of chickens. He grew corn and wheat and vegetables for his own use. He had been farming this land for 20 years, first with his wife Sarah, and now alone since she had died. Sarah was the one who was good with numbers, Tom said, looking a little sad. She kept track of all our money, wrote down when animals were born, and made sure we paid all our bills on time. Since she died, I have been trying to do it myself, but I'm not very good at it. The papers are all mixed up, and I can't find anything. When I need it, Emma listened carefully. She could hear in Tom's voice how much he missed his wife and how hard it was for him to do everything alone. I used to work with numbers and records. Emma said quietly, "That was my job at the church. I kept track of all the money and made sure everything was organized." Tom looked up with interest. "Really? Well, if you're not in a hurry to leave, maybe you could help me for a few days. I could pay you a little bit, and you're welcome to stay in the guest house as long as you need." Emma felt tears come to her eyes, but this time they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of relief and gratitude, for the first time in weeks. Someone was treating her like a normal person instead of a criminal. Someone was offering her work instead of telling her to go away. Someone trusted her with something important. "I would love to help you," Emma said. "Thank you for giving me a chance." Over the next few days, Emma worked with Tom to organize all his farm papers. She found bills that needed to be paid, records of animals that had been sold and important, documents that had been lost for months. She made neat piles of everything and wrote labels so Tom could find what he needed. Emma also helped Tom take care of some baby lambs that had gotten sick. She fed them with bottles every few hours and kept them warm with soft blankets. The lambs were so small and helpless, and taking care of them made Emma feel useful and needed. The work was simple but satisfying. Emma liked being outside in the fresh air, and she liked having something important to do with her hands. The quiet of the countryside was so different from the busy noise of town life. Here, Emma could think clearly for the first time in months. In the evenings, Emma and Tom would sit on the porch of his farmhouse and watch the sun go down behind the hills. Tom would tell Emma stories about his life with Sarah and how they had built the farm together from nothing. Grief and pain change us. Tom said one evening as they watched the sky turn pink and orange after Sarah died, "I thought my life was over too, but slowly I learned that being sad doesn't mean giving up. Sometimes the hard things that happen to us make us stronger and more understanding of other people's pain." Emma thought about Tom's words as she looked out at the peaceful fields. She was beginning to understand that running away from Bramford had not been a mistake. It had brought her to exactly where she needed to be, at exactly the right time. 3 weeks had passed since Emma arrived at Tom's farm, and she had settled into a peaceful routine. Every morning, she would wake up early to help feed the sheep and chickens. Then she would spend the day organizing Tom's farm papers and helping with small jobs round the property. In the evenings, she and Tom would sit on the porch and talk about their day while watching the sunset. Emma felt calmer and happier than she had in months. The angry voices from Bramford seemed far away now, like something from a bad dream. She was starting to think that maybe she would stay on the farm forever and forget all about her old life. But on a Tuesday afternoon, while Emma was sitting in the guest house writing down numbers in Tom's record book, her old phone rang. The number on the screen made her heart jump. It was Lucy Harper, her best friend from Bramford, who had refused to talk to her the night she left town. Emma stared at the phone for a long time before she finally answered it. "Emma." Lucy's voice sounded shaky and upset. "Emma, please don't. Hang up. I need to talk to you." Emma felt her stomach tighten. She was not sure she wanted to hear anything from Bramford, but something in Lucy's voice made her stay on the line. "What do you want, Lucy?" Emma asked quietly. "Emma, I'm so sorry," Lucy said. And Emma could hear that she was crying. "We were all wrong about you. Everyone knows the truth now. Michael Williams confessed to everything." Emma felt like someone had hit her in the chest. What do you mean? Michael was caught stealing money from another church in Millfield. Lucy explained through her tears. The police arrested him yesterday, and he told them everything. He admitted that he stole the money from our church too, and that he let everyone blame you for what he did. Emma, we were all so wrong. I was so wrong. I should have believed you. Emma sat down hard in the chair by her small table. For 3 weeks. She had been trying not to think about Bramford or the people who had accused her of stealing. Now, she was hearing that everything she had said was true, and everyone finally knew it. Emma, are you still there? Lucy asked. Yes, I'm here, Emma said, but her voice sounded far away, even to herself. Please come back, Lucy begged. Everyone wants to apologize to you. Pastor Williams feels terrible about what happened. The whole town knows you were innocent, and we all feel awful about how we treated you. Please, Emma, come home. After Lucy hung up, Emma sat in her chair for a long time without moving. She felt many different things all at once. She felt happy that everyone finally knew she had been telling the truth. She felt angry that it had taken 3 weeks and another crime for people to believe her. She felt sad that Lucy and the other people she had trusted had turned their backs on her so quickly. But most of all, she felt confused about what to do next. Emma walked outside and sat down by the sheep pen where she often went when she needed to think. The sheep came over to the fence to see if she had any food for them, and Emma reached through to pet their soft wool. These simple animals had never judged her or called her names. They just accepted her as she was. Tom found her there an hour later when he came back from fixing a broken fence in the far field. You look upset, Tom said, sitting down on the wooden fence post next to her. Bad news. Emma told Tom everything that Lucy had said on the phone. She explained about Michael Williams being caught, about how he had confessed to stealing the money, and about how everyone in Bramford now wanted her to come back. Tom listened without saying anything until Emma was finished talking. What do you want to do? He asked gently. I don't know, Emma said honestly. Part of me wants to stay here where life is peaceful and nobody calls me names or accuses me of things I didn't do. But Lucy also told me that the church is in big trouble without someone to manage the money properly. She said some families in town are not getting the help they need because everything is so disorganized. Tom nodded slowly. It sounds like they really need you. But they hurt me so much, Emma said, and her voice got stronger. They didn't believe me when I told them the truth. My best friend wouldn't even look at me. They made me leave my home and lose my job. Why should I help them now? You're right, Tom said. They did hurt you, and what they did was wrong. But Emma, you are not the same person who left Bramford 3 weeks ago. You're stronger now. You've learned that you can take care of yourself, and you've learned that there are good people in the world who will help you when you need it. Emma looked at Tom's kind face and knew he was right. The scared, broken woman who had arrived at his farm 3 weeks ago was gone. In her place was someone who felt confident and capable. Sometimes strong people have to do hard things to help others, Tom continued. You could stay here and be safe. But those families in Bramford need someone they can trust to help them, and whether they deserve it or not. You might be the only person who can do the job right. Emma thought about Tom's words. She had found peace on the farm, but she had also found her courage again. Will you come with me? She asked Tom. I don't want to face them alone. Tom smiled his warm, gentle smile. Of course, that's what friends do. On a bright Thursday morning, Emma packed her small bag one more time. But this time was different from the night she had fled Bramford in tears. This time, she was choosing to go back. And she was not going alone. Tom loaded her bag into his old pickup truck and climbed into the driver's seat beside her. "Are you ready for this?" Tom asked, starting the engine. Emma took a deep breath and looked back at the peaceful farm where she had spent the last 3 weeks healing. "Yes," she said, "I'm ready." The drive to Bramford took 40 minutes, and Emma felt her heart beating faster as they got closer to the town where she grew up. When they drove down Main Street, Emma could see people looking out of shop windows at Tom's truck. Word had spread quickly that Emma Wilson was coming back to town. Tom parked in front of the town hall, where a crowd of people had already gathered. Emma could see Pastor Williams standing near the front steps, looking older and more tired than she remembered. She could see her old landlord, Mr. Brown, shifting nervously from foot to foot. She could see Lucy Harper waiting by the door with tears in her eyes. Emma and Tom walked up the steps together, and everyone followed them inside. The same room where Emma had been accused of stealing was now full of people who had come to apologize to her. Pastor Williams stood up first. "Emma," he said in a shaky voice, "I owe you the biggest apology of all. I was wrong to accuse you. And I was wrong not to believe you when you told me the truth. My son Michael has confessed to everything, and I know now that you were trying to help us when you found the missing money." Emma looked round the room at all the faces staring at her. Some people looked ashamed and sorry for how they had treated her, but others still looked uncomfortable, like they were not sure what to think. A few people had not even come to the meeting at all. Emma stood up in front of everyone and spoke in a clear, calm voice that surprised even herself. "I forgive you all," she said. "We all make mistakes when we're scared or confused. I know that losing money from the church was frightening, and you needed someone to blame. What matters now is that we work together to help our community." Lucy Harper started crying harder and stood up from her chair. "Emma, can you ever forgive me for not believing you? You were my best friend, and I should have known you would never steal anything." Emma walked over to Lucy and gave her a hug. "Of course I forgive you," she said. "We're still friends." Emma agreed to come back and work at the church again, but she insisted on some new rules. From now on, people would always have to approve any money that was spent. All the bank records would be checked by someone outside the church every 3 months, and Emma would never again be the only person responsible for all the money. Pastor Williams agreed to all of Emma's rules. He also agreed to give her a raise and extra vacation days to make up for the terrible way she had been treated. But Emma had one more condition. "I want to keep helping my friend Tom Fletcher with his farm," she said. "I will work at the church during the week, but on weekends I want to go to the farm to help with the animals and the paperwork." Some people looked surprised that Emma had made friends with a farmer they did not know, but Pastor Williams nodded. "Of course, Emma, you can work whatever schedule makes you happy." Over the next few months, Emma settled back into life in Bramford. Some people in town, like Lucy and Pastor Williams, went out of their way to be kind to her and show her that they were sorry for what had happened. They invited her to dinner and included her in town events like she had never been away, but other people never really apologized to Emma or admitted they had been wrong. A few people still looked at her strangely when she walked down the street, and some still whispered about her when they thought she could not hear them. At first, this bothered Emma. She wanted everyone to like her and trust her again. But slowly, she learned something important. She did not need everyone in town to approve of her to be happy. She just needed to respect herself and do good work. 6 months after she returned to Bramford, Emma was stronger and happier than she had ever been in her life. She had her job back at the church, and she was doing better work than ever before because the new rules made everything more organized and fair. She had her friendship with Lucy back, and it was even stronger than before because they had been through hard times together. Most importantly, Emma had a friendship with Tom every weekend. She would drive out to his farm to help him with his animals and his paperwork. They would work together during the day, and in the evenings they would sit on his porch drinking tea and watching the sunset on quiet Sunday evenings. Emma would sit on Tom's porch and think about that terrible night when she had to leave town, with nothing but a bag of clothes and $800. Now she understood that sometimes when we lose everything, we find something even more valuable. We find out who we really are and what we are truly capable of doing. Tom would often join her on the porch with 2 cups of tea and ask, "Any regrets about coming back?" Emma would smile and shake her head. None at all. The end.